I like these sort of speculation videos, you know, as in I like sort of looking forward at what do we think we're going to get, what don't we think we're going to get when it comes to Classic TBC, specifically in Phase 1. So today, all I want to do is maybe highlight some things you may already know or you might not know because you're not sad like me and you haven't spent hours and hours trawling through, you know, old patch note details to see what we could expect in Phase 1. We know we're going to get 2.4.3, but we don't know what's going to be in each phase. So what content out of those patches is going to unlock and what's going to be in Phase 1. So I want to highlight some of the big ones for me and maybe some key issues around if they're not in Phase 1, you know, what that can do for the game, but also if they are in Phase 1, what potential content drought we could have going forward. Now, if you watched yesterday's video, I started teasing a bit of a giveaway that's coming, a big giveaway as well. You know, like I said, if you didn't watch yesterday's, then don't worry, but basically a gaming company's reached out and they want to give a few products out to our community. Now, I can unveil who they are. This is not a sponsored video, by the way, but I just want to give them a plug anyway, because obviously a future video is more than likely going to be sponsored, as you would imagine. But today, I can at least now show you who they are and the sort of products they do, and I'll put a link to their website down in the description so you can have a look, because trust me, all the stuff they do is top notch, and some of this stuff I didn't even know I needed until now. That's it. Now you know. It's a Rozzy. So I'm going to let you know in advance, when we do the giveaway later this week, you're going to need to be subscribed to the channel, so you might as well not waste time and do that now. Obviously, give a thumbs up to this video as well if you enjoy it. And I'll put a link to their website in the description. Go and check them out, have a look, and then come back and comment on this video with, if I could give you any one product from their website, which one would it be? That may seem extremely pointless, and you might think I'm trying to abuse the YouTube algorithm, but I'm genuinely not. If their guys are nice enough to give stuff to the community, it might as well be what you want. But anyway, look, let's get into the video. Now, I'm going to run through a few big things that I think are really, really going to matter when it comes to launch. Now, I'm not going to be putting any gameplay footage or anything like that on screen at the moment, and I think you'll see a lot of TBC, specifically content creators, going forward using less and less footage anyway, until we're actually into the beta, or beta, whatever you want to call it. It's beta. Reason being, Blizzard are quite hot on the fact that they don't want private server players who publicly stream it and make content about it, blah, 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 getting into the beta. So I just wanted to be transparent with you and let you know that's exactly why. Even though I'm not exactly renowned for putting loads of content on screen, I like to just sit here and talk to you, don't I? But so I'm going to start with a big one. Now, all I really want you to do is sit there and think, should it be in or should it wait until it's meant to be released? And I'm going to start with one which is probably not even thought about that much, and that's being able to summon to Tempest Keep. So to Alcatraz is really the one we're bothered about most of all, because it removes the need for flying for everybody. You know, as long as you've got a warlock and 2 other people that have got flying, then you're all right, you know what I mean? Because the summoning stone is actually down the bottom in Neverstorm, so you need to be able to fly up. But in 2.4, they changed it so warlocks could summon. Now, on the basis we're going in at 2.4.3, my personal feelings on that is that it shouldn't be a thing. You should not be able to summon to Tempest Keep in the first couple of weeks. It's really going to make, you know, gearing your ults and getting your ults attuned and stuff like that, it's going to make it so easy, or you're not going to have to invest that much gold into it, I should probably say. And I just personally think that should stay until later on in the game. So again, let me know what you think about that one. Now, Epic Flight Form doesn't come in until 2.1. So if I was to break it down for you, 2.1 is Black Temple. So by Blizzard's TBC release schedule, you know, Black Temple is going to be Phase 3. That could potentially be knocking on for a year. I can see, seriously, you know, if it's not a year, let's say 9 months, I don't know. Now, should that be added straight away? Because druids are not going to be able to use flight form at all because it's useless, so they're going to have to actually buy an epic mount, which seems quite counterproductive when down the line you're going to be able to get epic flight form. I mean, this is also going to remove the ability to be able to summon Anzu, so you're not going to be able to get the mount, but you also get an idol from the end of the quest chain as a druid, which also changes up what your bisque gear is going to be, or your pre-raid bisque gear or tier 4 bisque gear or whatever you want to class it as. It's going to change that up a little bit because it basically buffs your auras. Again, personally, I think it should be in the game from the start. All I'm doing with this is preparing you for the worst. You know, there is a chance that everything I'm talking about now may not be in the game at release. And now, I'm on the fence on whether this stuff should or shouldn't be in. Because if we get all of the good stuff brought forward to release, then these major content patches that brought really good features or added really cool stuff that we should really be waiting for, the phases are going to mean a lot less if we get it all at the start. So that's my only sort of negative spin on it. As nice as it would be to have these things in, it also means we've got less to look forward to throughout the expansion. Now, you'd have heard about like the leveling squish or the the XP increase from quests, the XP reduction needed. That didn't come in until 2.3. Now, I've heard rumours, even from Blizzard, that we're actually going to have that in the pre-patch. So we're going to have that from the word go. Not so sure that I agree with that one, if I'm honest. So it adds a quest hub in Dustwallow Marsh, firstly. It makes all of sort of the elite quests up to 60 soloable, so they're non-elite now. Now, that's going to be nice, obviously, for your Blood Elves, your Drannais, who are starting off, they're now going to have a lot easier time getting to 60 during the pre-patch. So I do understand why it would happen, and it would be good. But again, that's quite a big feature that comes later on in the game when there's actually a content drought. When you actually think about when that came, there wasn't a lot else. There wasn't any big 25-man raids released or anything like that. So it was sort of a, right, let's level some alts patch, if you know what I mean. And we're going to miss that with it being in at the start. So, I hate leveling. Anyone who watches me on Twitch, I detest it. I do it, but I detest it. So, I would welcome it in, obviously, at the pre-patch. But at the same time, I sort of see why it could be held off and still have a positive effect in the long run. The one we've all been talking about, engineering goggles. Everybody is saying about engineering goggles. And another minor thing when we're talking professions is whether the crafted maces will be one hand or main hand. That makes a very, very big difference. Now, my suspicion is going to be that they're in. I mean, I even made a video on the basis that they said specifically profession balance and class balance and talents balance. Gear and itemization was actually mentioned in the sentence. So I would say these are probably going to be in from the start. And I actually genuinely believe that they should be in from the start, because it's really the only really powerful item that an engineer can craft. Because if you compare it to tailoring, they can make all their sets. Leatherworking can make all their sets. Blacksmiths get their weapons. I mean, engineering really, they get cool stuff and explosives, and you know what engineering gets, and then they're going to get a decent tank trinket. But outside of that, really, it's not that great. So it's great for tanks early on, but really only tanks. At least now, if the head is in from the start, the goggles, I should say, are in from the start, then it's now all of a sudden useful for absolutely everyone. And can change up the professions a little bit, especially with the basis that we know drums are going to be changing. We don't know how they're going to change yet, but we do know they are going to change. So this could be, you don't need to go leatherworking, you now go engineering. You can now make another epic. You can make your head. I mean, it is World of Craft in TBC. It's just all about crafted gear. But anyway, and then let's talk about the Jewelcrafting gems. So obviously there was no spell hit gems, firstly, which probably an oversight from Blizzard. They was added in 2.1. I should stop talking about it in regards to patch notes and maybe stick to phases. So these would be released in phase 3. So this is going to be after tier 4, after tier 5, and it'll be when tier 6 comes. Spell hit gems, having to wait until you get to tier 6 seems extremely ludicrous. And at the same time, you agility users, so rogues, feral druids, hunters, whatever, you're not going to get your meta gem. So by the meta gem, I mean relentless gem, where it's 21 agility and 3% increased damage from critical strikes. That's big. That's a meta gem that's not going to be added till phase 6. You're going to be stuck with maybe using the Spirit Towers one, which is like attack power and minor movement speed. There's not really a lot else that you're going to be bothered about. So I would definitely agree that these need to be brought forward. But what's even worse, and I'm not sure if you're aware, but if we think agility users will be bad off not getting their agility gem, casters such as warlocks are even worse off, because they didn't get their meta gem until 2.3. So what you're going to see, if they was to release it like they did back in the day, where we're going to get the meta for the agility users first, and then maybe the next phase the warlocks get theirs, warlocks will be using, and I'm being serious now, warlocks will be using the agility meta gem just for the 3% crit damage, because it's huge. They're going to lose some intellect or some spell power or some crit or whatever, you know, but they're not going to be bothered because they're going to get 3% crit damage. So do we really want to be in a game where you've got warlocks running around with agility meta gems in their head? I don't really. So I would say JC needs to be balanced. All of those metas need to be in from the start, or at least all introduced at the same time. Which, I mean, if I was to say a sensible phase where they should be brought in, I would say phase 2 at the very latest. You know, so we've got these meta gems for tier 5 progression. Another interesting one, which I don't know if you're aware of, is consumables. And I'm going to be doing a consumables video, and people keep asking for it. The reason I'm holding off is because there's certain consumables I want to be 100% sure we're not going to be able to use. Because there are some that we can use, which you use now in Classic. These would be Jujus, the Blasted Lands food buffs. We'll just use those two as an example. So Jujus and the Blasted Lands, you know, daily quest where you get roids and all of that, you could use those up until 2.1. So technically that's going to be phase 3. You know, if we're talking from raid releases up to phase 3, you will still be farming Blasted Lands and Winter Spring to get your Jujus, which... do we really want that? I mean, the way they fixed it is they turned them into Battle Guardian elixirs, obviously, so you couldn't stack them with your flask or you couldn't stack them with your elixirs. So then, obviously, they become useless and you're not even going to bother going back and trying to get them. But we could potentially, if it was to launch where, you know, they are going through it and things are changing as we go along, things like that could be in from the start. The same way you used to be able to use flasks and elixirs together. You know, but personally, I don't see this getting through, you know, as in I think it will get changed. You know, that will be part of the overall 2.4.3 balance where Guardian and Battle Elixirs is a thing, so you're not going to have to worry about it. But, I mean, at the moment, who knows? If they really did just break all the changes down into phases and the additions of things into phases, we could quite possibly be still farming in Blasted Lands and Winter Spring. Yay! I mean, that's going to be amazing. Guildbank. I don't really need to say anything, do I? 2.3, that came. So that'll be well down the line. I mean, it'll be a nice addition. This is one of those where, yes, it would be definitely big quality of life change to have it at the start, but then it is also something to look forward to in the future. So, you know, I could see holding it back or implementing it at the start. I could be on board with both. But, you know, realistically, you're looking at sort of phase 4. So you're going to be knocking on towards the end of the life cycle of TBC before we get guild banks. I don't know. I mean, I personally would I'd like to see him in from the start, but at the same time, there is a big possibility that we might not have him at the start. And if we didn't, I would at least understand why, because it's a big feature that we're pulling forward, and it will make phases just feel less meaningful. I think that's my issue with the whole thing. But, you know, we're now in a hashtag some changes environment where your imagination can run wild. The last one is very minor, don't get me wrong. But fishing and cooking dailies. Now, they do unlock new recipes and things like that. But, you know, overall, I feel like they should be in from the start. You know, giving fishing and cooking a little bit more meaning. You know, I mean, you will be fishing and you'll be fishing even for primal waters and stuff like that. But you know, you are going to be using buff food. So I'm not saying cooking's going to be useless. It's far from it. But having that daily to do, I don't know, if we're willing to bring guild banks all the way to the front of the queue, you know, why not add the fishing and cooking daily? That just add a little bit more flair to those professions. Because if all the other professions are being balanced, so if we take a few steps back and we think, right, NG goggles, they're in, we're giving you the meta gems, they're in, you know, all the professions are getting balanced. If they forget about the secondary professions and don't give them their daily, I don't think there's enough consistency there. And this is what I'm about. So we had this similar discussion on Twitch on Saturday night or Friday night, whenever it was. I was drunk, I couldn't remember. We spoke about this, and I even vented my sort of frustrations to everybody, saying, as long as there's consistency, I don't care how they do it. But if everybody makes loads of noise that, oh, we want guild banks, but those same people are making noise saying like, yeah, but Druid shouldn't get epic flight form, that didn't come until Black Temple. You know, there's no consistency there. And this is where they need to draw the line, if I'm honest. You know, yeah, hashtag some changes, great. But you can't please everyone. But you can upset a lot of people. So They really need to be careful with what they do, and I'm sure you probably agree. There'll be changes to you that you personally would like to see, but then there'll be changes for other classes where you're like, nah, I don't really care. So I think we need to just tread carefully, and like I say, we don't want to ruin the future phases by having everything all at once anyway. But these are some potential things that may or may not be in phase 1. Hopefully you found it useful, or it's at least spurred some thought, some discussion in the comments. You can all hate on me for saying that we should have epic flight form, but we shouldn't have the ability to use old consumables. You know, as I say, my opinions are irrelevant. It's everybody as a community's opinions that count. So I'll see you on the next one.